This is a Brooklyn-bound 6 local train. The next stop is 23rd Street.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Alex Reyes, a Brooklyn-based painter, sculptor, musician. He has been and is all of these things. But it's his paintings that gave me cause to reach out, and ultimately crash his studio to root around in his brain to see what else I could find.
I believe that art is the only form of activity in which man shows himself to be a true individual.
He had this unique ability to access almost everything that was in his mind and memory bank, channel it through his body, and put it right there on that rectangle of canvas or paper.
You just take a deep breath and hope for the best and get into it.
That's the least we want. Don't be boring. And if that's all you do, that's an incredible achievement.
We could debate all day long what is art. But to be honest, I really don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Instead, let's just agree that there's a lot of art out there, some of it good, some of it bad, and some of it just plain unmentionable. But regardless, whether your work is hanging in a museum or you weave baskets, it is art. But we are concerned with how you got there. What ticked away in your brain that compelled you to create? There are so many ways to display your work these days, from Instagram to private galleries to Zoom calls during a pandemic. And that's amazing. Putting yourself and your work out there is such a momentous achievement. But keep in mind, you've got to be able to explain it, understand your process. Your art may be good looking, but what does it mean? How did you get there? All the tools like paint and cameras play their role, but where did you go? Where did your brain go when it went full tilt into the work? What is it that you see when you see? Remember, there is cause for why we create. Here is my 30,000-foot view on Alex, on episode 3 of Artist Proof, Alex Reyes and the Forgetful Man.
Street, I appreciate the culture, it's more diversity. Yeah, there's so much more here. Oh my goodness, feels so good in here.
Now, what city is that?
It's Brooklyn. Just everything's Brooklyn. Yeah, that's Brooklyn over there.
The skyscrapers, yeah, that's
Brooklyn. Brooklyn's that way.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Queens is in Brooklyn. Manhattan is in Brooklyn.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I stumbled across Alex while searching Instagram for art and artists that piqued my interest. We happened to have a mutual friend who had won one of his paintings in a social media contest he was running. The painting titled Why Me caught me with its deep, rich colors and this visceral texture that you could almost reach out and touch through the screen. So I decided to reach out to Alex, and here we are, in his studio in Brooklyn, shortly after his move from Nashville. And it turns out he happens to have the most perfect dog ever, named Bebe.
I really did. I was like, I got a little bit sad because I was like, oh man, this guy's he's in New York now. And trying to get this thing off the ground, this podcast, and wanted you to be a part of it. And I'm glad that we're here. But
did that happen? That thought, I'm gonna get him on the podcast, and then I moved.
Yeah,
that's how it happened.
That's exactly how it happened.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's wild.
And
you're like, no,
800 miles away from
Well, thank you for coming all this way.
Oh,
honestly, this is crazy.
Letting us take over your apartment,
dude. Anytime. Just chaos. You know what I'm saying? That's how I felt for literally 2 or 3 weeks. It was just every day, just waking up in chaos. The unknown is scary, but I think I thrive in that. Even when it's hard on me, I don't know. It's always been a thing for me. The unknown is scary. Being uncomfortable is scary for me, but I like it. Something about it. And so now, in this moment, I feel a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more fulfilled. I think we all go through seasons where we're like, what's wrong with me? we're not perfect. We're human, and I know it's such a cliche to say, but like, people say that for a reason, and it's to kind of ground us and be like, yo, we're messed up, but we're okay in our own beautiful ways. So I guess this season of my life and like the past few months, especially during COVID, I've just been like, what have I been running from? And that was painting, art, my heritage, you know, just stuff like that. Just trying to embrace it all and run with it and be proud of who I am. So my process, I think, starts like literally I have to go somewhere. It's weird. Like there's a lot of friends of mine that, oh, we can make coffee at home. Why go buy coffee somewhere? But it's the act of getting up and walking. Like I don't know, that's where it starts, you know, and then I come back and I like to work at night, and at night I'll just like, it starts with like canceling out the ADD, like just being focused. I will literally just sit down. Sit down and like sometimes I'll do like texture with gesso and then let it like just sit and dry. Yeah. And then I'll use the texture to like figure something out in my head that's like a memory, like you said, because it's very memory based and in moments that were meaningful, but also like that. I mean, meaningful in a sense that it could be good or bad. You know what I'm saying? Like it like really influences that moment. So right now, I think I'm doing more figurative stuff because of.
I noticed.
You've noticed that? Because of the people I've been hanging out with.
Sure.
And just seeing more figures on the street, interesting figures, you know, and the way things look in a moment. I know that's so like broad, but no, yeah, like I'll like take a picture in my head of like a moment where the lighting is like perfect, you know, and I'll try to transpose it to something I would work on. So I use a lot of dark, like a lot of black in my paintings because I like the depth of those moments, those everyday moments that I see in the people I've been hanging out with. And I started writing poetry, like I said, and I think a lot of what I've been writing are those moments, the meaningful things that you get out of a conversation. And I think when people say something meaningful to me and I take that, I like want to paint them or like use them in a painting or use a certain, like the way their figure is. And I'll be like, hey, can I take your picture? Like, I know this is weird, but I won't paint them exactly, but I'll use their figure in that moment to do something. So that figure right there is my buddy Sam. He's not brown. He's a white guy, but I just use his figure in a moment. He was like, I told him to put his leg on a chair and just pose, and I just sketched it out real quick. And he's a really special person in my life. Like, he's a designer. He designs clothes. His brand is Molly's Garden. So the first day I moved here, literally I got in with a Penske truck, parked it in the morning, was walking to the Penske truck, and I saw this like pop up in Williamsburg, and I was walking with my roommate Jake, and Jake was like, dude, that looks cool. And I was like, let's go meet him. And he was like, wait, what, really? And I was like, why not?
Sure.
Yeah. Like, if it's cool, go meet, you know? And so we went in, and I had Bebe, so I couldn't walk in. So he walked in first, and they're chatting. I can't hear anything, and I'm like a crazy person, like, with my dog outside, just like, hey, good job. And so Jake yeah, he gets out and he's like, dude, he's so cool. Like, I got his info and everything. He like designed all those clothes. I was like, so cool. I want to meet him. So we go to the Penske truck, get all my stuff, and there's like bags. And we stop again, and I'm like, Jake, hold Bebe. And I just have, and I put it all down, like the bags, and they're all like everywhere in the sidewalk. And I just walk in, and I'm like, dude, like, good to meet you. And I remember that moment so vividly because I think it was meaningful to me, you know? And so I was like, there was a moment when he was just like, just chilling right there. And I was like, why not, you know? And now I have a story for that, for that painting. That is a practice because there's days where you just go to autopilot, you know? And that happens to me a lot. I have ADD, like I said, and it's like, crazy. So it's a trauma and your mind's trying to protect you from it. So you're like autopilot all day. You show up home, you're like, what was even today? You know? Yeah. So that practice of like soaking in a moment like this, you know, that you'll remember, you know, hopefully forever. So.
Now, other than liking his work, there is a historical, technical sense to it that started me down the path of wanting to interview Alex. So I opened some books, did some research, played art history sleuth. I wanted to find connections with his work. What was his inspiration? And could we connect these dots to these artists that I considered, for lack of a better term, my idols? So here is a little aside before we dive back into Alex, but something I keep coming back to when I talk with him and look at his work. Jean-Michel Basquiat, the Brooklyn-based painter in the 1980s, he gave very few interviews in his short career in life, but when he did, his cryptic messages or terse answers spoke volumes, often responding that the words scribbled across his paintings were derived from real life, books, television, and in a more prolific response saying, I don't think about art while I work. Basquiat, Diego Rivera, Lee Krasner, Willem de Kooning, even Jackson Pollock. These are all names that come to mind as I talk with Alex. Artists who created on their own terms. It might seem like colorful fields of paint, but there's a deeper meaning, something alive in their work. Now, I'm not saying Alex Reyes is Jackson Pollock, so everybody just calm down. But for a long time, I've tried to figure out what they did that draws me in to their work. And as reclusive as they all were in explaining how and why they did what they did, it seems to me that maybe, on some level, their synapses and their brains were firing in the same way that Alex's do. They get their inspiration from somewhere, and that plane is very similar between them all. Okay, rambling aside, back to Alex.
You know, feels good because they're some of my favorite artists, Basquiat especially. I mean, now I'm in the season where I'm like trying new things, like figuratively. I'm using less like oil pastels and charcoal and more just paint, straight paint. And yeah, I kind of miss it, you know? Like I'm like in this like fight constantly of like, okay, I love Basquiat, I love the street art world, but I also love like old Renaissance paintings and like Van Gogh and, you know, Pablo even is like, yeah, it's abstract, really abstract stuff sometimes, but also very realism at the same time. So it's like, I'm trying to combine all these avenues. And I think I'm in a comfortable spot now where I'm like going, you know, I don't know. It's cool. It's a cool feeling, especially when you say that. So thank you. You know,
yeah, it's
the Basquiat, Willem de Kooning vibes. I don't really have a plan usually always, especially with like music. You just start strumming and then you come up with something, and that's like what I do now with painting. I just start painting something that I either see in a texture, like in something. And I've always been that way as a kid. Like I would look at something and I can make something in my head of like, oh, that looks like that, and kind of just daydream about it. I don't know. And I feel more fulfilled that way. And that's when I know, like, that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I was always struggling with, like, how to make a painting or a figure that I was painting, like, proportionate. Because at first I wasn't happy with how my figures were coming out. But, like, that doesn't even look like a person, you know? But I think after picking up what kind of I was talking about, like, Basquiat would always sketch. And I think that with me sketching every day, whether it's when I'm getting coffee or, like, when I'm at a bar with friends, you know, I'm always sketching. And I think that practice is, like, giving me the ability to emulate what I want to emulate in the moment, you know, without being, like, questioning it or whatever. It's here, you know. I know how it looks now because that image is in my head. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, you know. Oh my gosh, what a dad joke, bro.
Just leave the rest of the body out. Just leave the key parts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
But yeah, like, I just feel like Pollock, like, whenever he was so messy and, like, didn't give almost a shit about what he was working on, but he did, you know, and he had respect for knowing that whatever the outcome, like, it would be his masterpiece. And he inspired Basquiat for sure, because when I looked at, like, when I started studying him and just watching his films, like, he stepped on his work. He would have work everywhere. He was always working. And, you know, whatever he was working on, like, if it was just a practice to get somewhere, like, with what he wanted to create, he would just throw it on the ground. And I remember his, like, girlfriend saying or his, like, longtime lover or whatever, was saying that he would just walk on all these pieces. And, like, I think when you said that Jackson Pollock is kind of that way, I agree that he's inspired me, and Basquiat has inspired me, or he got inspired from Jackson. And, like, it just, like, it's nice to know that you can be messy and your art is still good, you know. You could step on it for all, because you're the artist, you're the one making it. So who has a say to, like, oh, you shouldn't step on that? Like, what if you wanted to?
Process. It's all about the process. Often the most derived from your work, at least for yourself, is how you got there. Let everyone else interpret its hidden meaning. And for Alex, it seems where he grew up, his experiences, those family dynamics, that's where his work is often rooted, somewhere deep in his memory. And then he responds to it with purpose by painting these ethereal portraits. These are all the things he's tucked away, cataloged in his brain for later use, especially the family aspect, and what they and his family heritage means to him.
Yeah, so my grandparents are from Mexico, both sides, my mom and my dad. My dad is from Tecate, Mexico. You know, like the good ass beer. Yeah. It's right over there. I was drinking it last night. Yeah, he's from there, and I think his family's from there. My other grandparents, and then my mom's side, the one that I'm closest with, they're from Jalpa, Zacatecas. Crazy name, right? Yeah, where is that? It's so cool. It's north of Mexico City. Okay. Probably like 5 hours or something like that. Yeah, it's this nice little, like, in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains kind of city. But yeah, they're from there. My mom's from LA, and then they met. And yeah, man, just growing up in that, you know, it's very, I mean, my dad, they grew up, and his brothers, they grew up in the hood, you know, just because that's where they were placed, you know. And then my mom, same thing. And yeah, they freaking were in, like, all that gang world stuff, you know, and yeah, I don't know. It was wild just not even realizing like how crazy it got for a sec, and how my parents were actually trying to get us out of that, you know, that whole scene. Because my older brother started getting into trouble. I'm 24, he's 29, about to be 30. And so yeah, just like seeing my parents really work hard. My grandparents taking care of us whenever they were working hard, so I'm very thankful for that. And getting us to Dallas, you know, out of that, which is so cool, you know. They're like, that is sacrifice, you know. That is what you do for your loved ones. And so, yeah, we moved to Midlothian, Texas, super white, rich place. And yeah, as a kid, I mean, I was like proud. I'm like, I'm brown, I'm Hispanic, I speak Spanish, I eat good ass Mexican food and hang out with my family. And then going to another kind of setting, you know, where you're like one of the only like brown people in this whole school, was wild, you know. And then that's when I started to see like I'm different, you know. So you try to fit in naturally as a kid, and yeah, I think that's what happened, you know. I was ashamed. I was like trying to run from my heritage when I hit high school or whatever, but like even in middle school and like earlier years, that thought of like I want to fit in was just like haunting me. And then yeah, I guess I completely abandoned my heritage, you know. Wouldn't speak Spanish. I could, but I was like, nah, you know, like I'll be looked at different, you know. So I'd lie and be like, oh, I don't know Spanish. Yeah. Yeah, man. And then just like choosing to completely remove myself from like going to my grandparents' house often, you know, taking my friends to my grandparents or like inviting them to, you know, birthday parties and stuff, you know. It got that bad, you know, and I realize that now, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm glad I am not there anymore. Yeah. You know. But yeah, that was hard. But now, like I said, this season in my life, I'm like clear-headed, not perfect, but I'm really looking back and really appreciating everything that put me here, you know.
Okay, let's check this box. My biggest fear in life is losing my memory. It's not spiders, it's not snakes, it's just forgetting everything. Maybe that's why I take pictures for a living, so I can have a physical catalog of those experiences that I've had for myself. For Alex, it's his paintings of those who've already lost their memory that further his story. His painting, The Forgetful Man, is a striking image of his grandfather's face. It evokes this sense of loss, sadness, tragedy, an emptiness, a fear, all while being this beautiful, compelling piece. There's something behind the eyes that you know there's more, but the man in the painting can't express it. And he continues to live in this silence each day.
That piece, yeah, of course. So my grandpa has dementia, and we're like super close. Like we've been growing up in California, which I was born in Long Beach, California. Yeah, growing up with, you know, my family, we would always have my grandparents staying with us. So we connected, you know, we had this special bond. And I say we had because it's not as close as it was, obviously, because I was a kid, but it's still there. You know, it's like lingering, and it's like, those are my people. They took care of me. You know, I was a grandpa and grandma's boy because of it. They would spoil me, which is... there's some effects of that now, which I'm working on. But yeah, just stuff like that, you know, just cool moments. Yeah, and then as of recently, like 5 years ago, he's so old. He's like 86 or something like that, 87. So naturally his body's just like dying, and it's sad to see. He has dementia. His legs can't work that much anymore, and yeah, I was like, I have to create about these moments in that time. I felt like I was running out of time when I made that, which is, I think, why it's one of my strongest pieces, because I was like, this is my grandpa, this is my lifeline. So yeah.
Was it hard? Was it difficult?
Yeah, I mean, in the moment when I was creating it, I didn't realize how sad it was, or how like meaningful it was gonna be. But yeah, creating that was fun in the moment. I was so stoked about it. And then at the gallery, it was like, fuck, this is about my grandpa. Like, this is so cool. And it's like one of the main pieces, So, and then I created, several pieces for them. But other people, when, another mind sees a painting, they like create their own version of what they see, which is so cool. That's what I want. And that's what, if they ask me what it's about, I'm going to tell you, but it's cool that your mind connects with it in a different way. This lady, her name's Jackie Dales. She's in Canada, but she just bought that painting. And she told me what the meaning it was for her about dementia, because she's a nurse. So she's seen that, and she's like, I really need that piece. And I was like, so happy but so sad every time to sell my life, but this is what I want. I want to share that. I want her to share my version of the story and why she bought it, and why what it meant to her, to her family, and then pass it down, and just like create something, a feeling.
Forever holding on to this idea of forgetting.
Yeah. It's like losing a person, dude. Like, I lost my grandpa whenever he got dementia. It wasn't the same. He's not the same person, but he still is. There's moments that come out and I'm like, holy crap, you're remembering, which is wild.
Alex is an enigma, wrapped in a changeling, shifting and maneuvering through life to satisfy some appetite for living in moments rather than yearning for some far-off destination. I want to spend hours interviewing him, but I also want to leave him alone and just sit there and watch him paint, watch him sculpt, watch him create something from nothing.
Man, that's a good question. It just goes back to like making up their own story, in their head, just like something will click, hopefully.
Yeah.
But that's like my whole plan, is just to make something and have somebody make their own story out of it. And I think with music and any art form, personally, that's what I would want to give off, like with music, there's always a meaning behind the lyrics, hopefully.
Sure.
And then, somebody asks, like, what is that song about? Like, yeah, it's cool, but like, I think kind of telling everybody, like, no, this is what it's about, I think isn't the way it should go, Sometimes it happens that way, sometimes it doesn't. But that's like my vision on it. I just want somebody to create. Like, I want it to connect in their own way, their own story. Yeah. Stitch me up, follow all to 80 on the way down. Split me into wish me luck, follow all.
For more on Alex, visit our Instagram @ArtistProofOfficial, or you can pop over to Alex's Instagram, alex.j.reyes. If you'd like to check out more images of Alex's paintings, head over to our Patreon, and if you're feeling generous, feel free to leave a donation. Every little bit helps us create more episodes of the show. On the next episode, we visit with Louisville-based artist Tiffany Calvert. We dive deep into her current work dealing with artificial intelligence, the Dutch masters, and even tulip mania.
Mantra that's become useful in my head, I now just say to myself, like, it doesn't matter. Because if you don't make the work that you desperately want to make, then you'll fall asleep on your studio floor on a piece of cardboard. So I kind of, in a way, like, I don't have control over that. Like, I make these paintings because these are the ones that come, and that's it. Like, and to that freedom to be like, that's what it is. Like, I have to make these, period. And to let go of, how should I be as a woman artist? Will my work matter to, the larger art conversation? Of course, I ask myself those things all the time, but I also have to like let that go. And I have to make the next thing, not knowing what it is.
That's next time on Artist Proof.
Loathing in my misery, wish you were still next to me, soaking in our history, nothing but a mystery, nothing but a mystery, thinking of our history, wishing you were next to me, sitting in my misery. Paradise I found, grab a hold, we're skipping town, stitch me up, my secrets are